Hey Brereton, and this is a 1 hour webinar on what I'm calling and what I will be referring to the Black Empowerment Academy. And so I am going to leave this up live because this is a free webinar. For those who did come on the live and who do come on the live, you'll be able to ask questions. For those who did not, you're simply going to get the webinar in its raw form. This webinar and the purpose of it is to give individuals from the Black community the capacity to properly network their activism, in a way that afforded them, first and foremost, safety, because activism is not safe in America for people of the diaspora. And so there are many things that you have to take into account. Also, it's a unifying method. Activism shouldn't be done alone. It shouldn't be done in a vacuum. You shouldn't be out on your own island doing this kind of any kind of activism. And then simply defining what activism is. Activism is the moving forward, progressive moving forward, the social ascent, the financial ascent, the economic ascent, and even the spiritual ascent, and the knowledge ascent of a people. Okay, so you activate to move. You don't activate to stay in the same condition, in the same mentality. You don't activate to stay with the same level of financial depravity. You activate to move up, to move out, to move further, to move wiser, to move with more. And so a movement must grow in every area. And when a movement stops growing, you have to become concerned, because true movements don't stop growing. They never stop growing. What is my example of that? I have many. Spiritually, we have the kingdom of heaven that never stops growing. Naturally, we have nations. The United States of America was a movement of individuals who decided to move from one place to another, and it's never stopped growing. Same with Canada, same with a lot of the areas that people have moved out from the homeland. And so a movement should never stop. Hello, Yvonne, good to see you. And so let's talk about the Black Empowerment Academy. I'll be referring to some notes. I'll be giving you a synopsis. I only have an hour for this, and this is a free webinar. I will be also offering a course. It is a 6-week course on how I can actually do this for you. I want to put some things in place for you. Some people can't do any of this stuff. When I teach it to you, you'll be able to do it. When I talk to you about it, you'll be able to do it. But I have to frame you why do it? Why purpose yourself to be an activist? Let's start there. Anyone living in a place where your ethnicity is not the dominant group, and if you find yourself in a position where you're economically, politically, or informationally in a space where your story, your opportunities have been limited drastically, and that your descendancy will not inherit what you have. Hello, Dylan Turner, good to see you. Where your descendancy will not inherit what you have, you now will require activism. If a nation state has been built and its constitution and founding documents do not include you, if its legal system has historically or otherwise shut you out of the opportunity, you require activism. If you are new, if you are an immigrant to a location where you are new, where you bring something different that has not been discussed prior to. So if you're a person who is a Muslim, right? Let's speak outside of even my catchment group. You're a Muslim and you've come to a new area and you have 2 wives. and you are a person who, that is your religious and family understanding, and you now are in a place where they say, well, 2 wives is illegal, you need activism. If you're a black man or a black woman, you come into a place and you realize that the police don't look like you, the legislature don't look like you, the school board don't look like you. If you realize, all of the areas that constitute strength and legitimacy don't look like you, you need activism. So what we're doing here is we're teaching you what activism is, why we need it, and then how to get it, how to keep it. And many of you don't realize that you have exercised a level of activism in your life already. All right? So I call this the Guide to Effective and Safe Black Activism. And so let's go just from the beginning. It's going to be very quick. I'm not going to hit you with a whole lot. Like I said, I have a master class that I would like to do. It's not expensive. It's going to be 6 weeks. And I'm going to break all of these things down within the 6-week master class. I'll talk about that later. If you are interested, if you're not interested, then I can keep the information right in my head. But if you are interested, there's a lot of pieces to this that we have to break out of. Okay, so becoming an activist. Now, this is the 101 of becoming an activist. This is what you need. You ready for it? Information. You would be surprised how many people exercise a public opinion without mining the resource of private information. The reason that this platform went from 79 subscribers in October to 17,000 subscribers by December was the fact that I had already had information to speak to the occasion. I had information to speak to the occasion. So when people came to watch and to listen, and I apologize for the noise, it'll go away briefly. But when people came to watch and to listen, they were listening to an informed person speak. They were listening to information. And so this is key. The road to activism is first and foremost filling your head with the appropriate information about what you are inspired to speak on. Now, sometimes you have no idea what your calling will be. And so therefore, sometimes information, in my case specifically, happened to be information I'd already collected. And I was just and so it was very organic for me to speak on it. But in many times, it might not be. You might have to do some deep dive research. And that information is the keys to activism. Because I'll tell you something, nobody wants to follow a dummy. Nobody wants to follow a dummy. And so information is not even intelligence. And this should empower some people. That you don't have to be the smartest person. You don't have to have the highest IQ. You just have to have right, recitable information. And if you become the treasure chest of proper information, you now have the foundations of being a great activist. That's it. Activism is information disseminated correctly, all right, and timely. The second thing in respect to being an activist, and this is nothing I can give you, you have to have the courage to speak. Another reason that this platform became what it was, again, 79 people to 17,000 people very quickly, is I wasn't afraid of their faces. And I said what I had to say. And so, unfortunately, some of us feel that our voice would qualify us to lose what we have. Some of you are afraid of your own voice. And you're in love with your station, your status, the things that you have. And some of us don't even have any of the things. But you're so afraid to speak your mind. What is wrong with an informed person speaking their mind? Nothing. And so you have to have the courage. That's the next part. Information. But if you don't have the courage to talk, if you don't have the courage to say, actually, what I know is true and I should say it, then unfortunately, the movement dies within you. And I thank you very much, Dylan Turner. I think I don't see myself as an intellect. I see myself as gathering information, a person who's gathered information, and I've actually gathered other people's information, and I've quantified other people's information, other people's opinions. I've listened to them. I've understood their opinion. I didn't necessarily make all of them my own, but now having their opinion and their opinion, I now can launch out and say, let me give you some opinions. And hello, Sylvia, how are you? I thank you very much. I will be teaching you in the master class how to connect with other not-for-profit. So let me go into that. This is just an hour. This is just a free webinar to tell you what the masterclass can offer you, but giving you some steps. So some of you can say, well, I don't even need a masterclass, Del. I can take that and run with it. Okay, that's all I wanted to do for you today. I'm going to give you more, but here it comes. So that's becoming an activist, and there's more to that. There's more to becoming an activist than just information, than just the courage to speak it. There's a few more pieces, and we can talk about that in the class, but the next piece that I'd like to talk about is creating a liability-proof identity. Now, you are here talking to the legal person named Wendell Brereton. That's who you are speaking to currently. You are also speaking to Wendell Brereton Incorporated. You're speaking to both the legal person and the legal entity of Wendell Brereton Incorporated. How did I do that? I will tell you. I'm not going to keep it a secret from you, okay? But even if I tell you, it's not easy to do it. So, Wendell Brereton Incorporated went, and how he came to be. He's very young. He's very new, right? He began as and this is how we would do it in Ontario. It will be similar in other states, and I will try to do a scenario when we do the class. We will know what state you're in. We will know the procedure to go through in that particular state. So let me speak about where I am. And remember, we are all dealing with the same colonizer. We are all dealing with British law. America deals with British common law. Canada deals with British common law. Africa deals with British common law. The Caribbean deals with British common law. We are all dealing with the same colonizer. So therefore, which is wonderful, we have the same steps. Beautiful. We have the same steps. We have the same foundation, because the same colonizer principles of law apply. So essentially what I did here is I created a federal corporation, a numbered corporation. Actually, I created a state or provincial corporation. And then I created a federal corporation. And so currently, Wendell Brereton Incorporated is only alive. He's not alive everywhere. He's only alive in my current state. But my numbered corporation, or what I believe they call it in America, an LLC, my limited liability corporation, that's why they call it an LLC, because it limits people's capacity to infringe upon you personally. That is federal. So now, if I want to do activism in another province, another state in America, as he would call it. My numbered company, which is federal, registers Wendell Brereton as an operation name in that state. I become a legal entity, and what I do is I open up a bank account in that state, right? So I have a bank account, and I become a legal entity in that state. So therefore, if I go there to speak, if I go there to fundraise, if I go there to sell my wares or to do anything, what I am is an LLC named me, Wendell Brereton. You understand? So essentially, I go to another province and I give somebody terrible advice. I say, you know what? I think you guys should go and storm the Capitol. I say something like that, right? And somebody storms the Capitol and they get hurt. And they say, you know what? We did that on your say-so, we're going to sue you. I say, okay. You have the right to sue me. Who will you be suing? You'll be suing Wendell Brereton Incorporated. Right? So that limits your liability, but it creates your activist household so that you are always you. You are always you. No one can infringe upon you. No one owns you. Right? No one can limit you. For example, Wendell Brereton Incorporated can never have a criminal record. No matter if you arrest me or not. No matter what you do to me. You cannot take anything away from Wendell Brereton Incorporated. You cannot infringe upon that at all. Now, you can sue it for its property, but guess what? Wendell Brereton Incorporated will never own anything. Anything it owns will belong to the Ontario Numbered Corporation. You will be suing an empty shell, always. But an empty shell that will pay its taxes. An empty shell that will still be a legal entity. You can write a check to it and give it money, but you can't take anything from it. It's an empty pocket. Everything it has, it will transfer over to its parent company. So now you can speak from a platform of impunity because you are speaking on behest of your corporate state name. How do you do that? Okay, I'm still going to keep going with that for a little while. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. I was changing the not-for-profit. I'm going to get into not-for-profit. Don't go fast. The not-for-profit is extremely important. Not-for-profit can do the same things. So what I did with the numbered corporation, what I did is I created an operating name. So watch this. You have a numbered corporation, and it's you, and now you have some other people who are joining the group, joining the team, and they're a speaker too, right? They're a great voice too. Brand name is John Smith. John Smith, when they speak, they are also John Smith Incorporated, because now your LLC, right? And so John Smith is an incorporation, and it doesn't have a social insurance number, a social security in your case, in America. It has a numbered corporate name. That's what it is. Its entity is a numbered corp, right? When John Smith preaches, when John Smith speaks, when John Smith writes books, John Smith, your partner activist, under the same umbrella. Now, you can have separate bank accounts that they share. They also are protected from the same level of liability. This is what this means. Everybody doesn't have to go open an LLC. All you have to do is when the parent company is open, you apportion shares. You have a share structure. The parent company will have one home, have one address, but all of those individual brand names can have different bank accounts. They can do different things. That means everyone in the organization who has a leadership role, an out front role, should have a brand name under the LLC. You understand that? So let's talk about a nonprofit. The nonprofit does exactly the same thing, except the nonprofit has other things it has to do. The nonprofit has to now function under the objects of what is a nonprofit. This is the harder part about the nonprofit. A nonprofit cannot, in Canada at least, always apply for funding because it will be considered a political organization, right? The nonprofit will be considered potentially a political organization. It can't always apply for funding. But once your nonprofit is approved, because your nonprofit has to get objects, meaning you have to be able to tell the government what is the scope of your nonprofit endeavors. Will you try to own property? Yes. Will you try to own land? Yes. Will you try to open up a school? Yes. So once those objects, called objects in Ontario and Canada, once the objects are approved, those objects are what the nonprofit can function within. And nonprofits have a much narrower scope. But the great thing about nonprofits is it can take private money and give people receipts, right? Now, a nonprofit that is a charity can do that. A nonprofit that is not a charity just doesn't pay tax, but it cannot give receipts in Canada. So there's a charity and there's a nonprofit. Your nonprofit must be a charity in order to give receipts, which makes it very powerful because now people donating to you are donating to you and getting a tax credit, right? Now you're getting a tax credit. So think about that before you deal with it as a profit or nonprofit entity. Something again that I have not tested, but if you really believe that you're going to be scrutinized, working off donations, yes. So a nonprofit can work off donations, and that's what it lives on, right? But this is something I haven't tested, but it's actually doable in theory. So my Wendell Burton Incorporated, let's say I have a job, my employer is employing me as a employee. Can I ask the employer to not employ me, to employ Wendell Burton, the corporation? And if the employer is going to do that, a couple of things would change. Number one, the corporation would be taxed differently. So the corporation in Canada is taxed higher. So they can but they can pay you contractually. So you're a contractor. You're not an employee. That means if there's a union, you can't be in it. That means benefits. You can't have benefits to a corporation. You would have to now apply yourself to give yourself benefits within your own corporation independently. But essentially, what that would allow is that if an individual came after you and said, I'm going to garnish your wages, you can say, I don't have any wages. Wendell Burton Incorporated is not me. You can garnish me, but I take a small salary. For example, let's say your corporation was paid $100,000 a year, and you said, I will take a $20,000 salary from that incorporation. Essentially, if a court order came to garnish Wendell Burton, the person, it would be based on the $20,000. They could not garnish the $100,000 from the third-party corporation. They could not. If they sued me personally, and I had a sole proprietorship, they could send a notice to my trade, the individual paying me, and says, this individual, you owe him money, and he has a garnish order against him. Please send us that money. If I'm an individual. If I'm a corporation, they cannot. This is very important. So the corporation, and again, it doesn't even have to be a different name. It could be you. And what makes it so much easier when it's your name is that an individual writing you a check, They're not writing it to a company. You are the company. You are just taking that check and you are depositing in the corporate account. The corporate seal could be broken if you decide to deposit that corporate check into a personal account, right? But essentially you could. You could deposit that check into either account because they're writing a check to, in my case, Wendell Brereton. And they're writing that check, and I can put that check corporate or personal. What I'm saying is that you keep everything over there. Now, this is the problem now. As I said before, tax-wise, you are taxed higher as a corporation than you will ever be taxed as a person. Therefore, you have to make sure that your corporation has things to write off, and you'll be taxed twice. You'll be taxed twice. You'll be taxed as a corporation, and the minute you pull money out of your corporation as an individual, you'll be taxed again because you're not the same entity, right? There's corporate tax, there's personal tax. So you have to be very careful now in respect to your tax game, because what you're doing is you're creating a double taxation scenario for yourself. And so that being said, the best way to pay yourself is essentially utilize the corporation and pull money from the corporation as a corporate expense as much as you can. Okay, so that's creating an LLC. And what we can do is we can assist you in doing that. We can help you do it. Back in the day, I would do these things I did them a lot. But I'd walk right in and, go into my local government office. Most of them here are closed. 90% of this now is an online function, and to do it online it's very difficult. It's a maze, and there's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of hoops in Ontario. There's a few hoops to do what I just described. Is a full day work. It's a full day, sometimes 2 days to do exactly what I just explained to you in a few minutes. Okay, so once you go from your identity, you've created your activism platform. I have here information gathering, but I'm going to put something else in the middle of there, and I'm going to put creating your online identity. Creating your online identity. And this is a hard one because this is basically a marketing scenario, right? How do you create an online identity? What do you do to create an online identity? Now, something that I'm still learning, I'm still not good at it. I know it in theory. I don't pay attention to it as much as I should because I'm just not a marketing guy. I'm not as good as other people are, but I know how to do it. And this is making sure that you look the same on all your social medias, right? When somebody sees me, you took a picture of this face, and then I put on, a mustache and a red wig, and you took another picture of me, and they placed me on another social media, and I did the same thing with a blue wig and a beard, and I kept changing it up. It would be hard to figure out if that's the same person, right? So with our platforms that we're building to reach out to people, it is important that the platforms all say the same thing, same name. That's one of the things that people mess up, Everything's got to be the same, right? Keep using you as the brand. Keep building yourself as the brand. Same name. Also, with the same name, it would be great to have similar logos. You have a simple logo, simple color scheme, right? Same looks across multiple platforms. And this is the most important thing. One place to gather all the information. So I don't want to go onto Facebook and onto Instagram and onto YouTube and gather information in separate locations. There are things that you can use that you can link to all three or more, and people are gathering the information in one place. Your information gathering is extremely important. It's getting hot in here. Take off my jacket. Information gathering is extremely important because when you miss information, you miss opportunities. Let me bridge that. Information gathering is just not you having a whole bunch of people's phone numbers and emails. That's not what it is. What made this platform so successful is the fact that I was able to partner with other people who had the same like-mindedness. It made the platform much more powerful. And people also who just needed to reach out to me to give me information of things that they needed activism for made the platform that much more powerful, right? So gathering, your information gathering is also ally gathering. You're gathering your allies. And if you miss them, if someone's calling you and you don't pick up the call, doesn't make sense that they're calling you. You have to be able to pick up that information, go through it, and say, hey, this is somebody I need to reach out to. This is information I need to have. I need to talk to this person. I need to call this person. Not everybody's going to be useful to you or timely for you. Some people's initiatives are too big for you, or they're not at the right time of what you're trying to do. They might be taking you off in a different direction. So you got to know your voice and what you're here to say and what you're here to do. But you definitely have to gather all of those pieces, all of that information. Okay, so gathering the people resource is what that information is what I'm talking about. I've connected with some really powerful people who are now part of my network. And they're also part of your network if you're connected to me. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure we keep bridging networks. My network is yours. You gave it to me. And my network is yours. Your network is mine and my network is yours. So we have to make sure that activists connect to each other, because why should I relearn information that you already have, right? Okay. Let me keep going here. So yeah, moving from your gathering of information, your gathering of resources, you're also going to be putting yourself in a position to present your fundraising opportunities, because you got to fuel the war chest. This is what Al Catania always tells me. You have to fuel the war chest. Any movement can be starved out, period. If you're running for election, they can starve you out. If you're a lobbyist group, which is something that I'm going to talk about in the master classes, is how these activist organizations should become lobbyists, right? One of the things that we've been saying, Dr. Umar says it, I agree with him, but I don't think it's doable in America. So I've changed my desire. So Dr. Umar, which I do agree with this part, he says we are wasting our time at the trough of the GOP and at the Democratic party. You're wasting your time there. And he's right. And he says essentially that what should happen next is that black people should focus on a third party, a third option that they lend their resources to. Now, this is my issue with that. And it's in theory a fantastic and proper idea. We should have our own party. But black people are not monolithic. Therefore, one party wouldn't be enough, because we have so many different ideas and approaches, ideologies, worldviews. One party wouldn't be enough. And so what we would essentially end up doing is we would water down the vote of ourselves, because we would be stretched across two or more minority parties, essentially never gaining the power of governance, which I spoke about yesterday. Go on that live, check it out. A lobbyist group changes that. Let's say I don't vote at all. Let's say every black person in America ceases to vote. We don't vote for anything, because Dr. Umar said this very well. We are not voting to get anything. We are voting to keep the other guy out. We're not coming to the table saying, we're going to give you our vote and this is what we want. We are just voting because we are being motivated by fear and tactics that says, if he gets in, it's going to be terrible for you. So you got to keep that guy out. So all we're doing is coming to the table based on fear. And I agree with that. But what I believe is that if we are a lobbyist group, if no black person in America ever voted again, but the trillions of dollars of our own personal resources, the trillions of dollars of black money, the black war chest, was put together and said to those two parties, listen here, when you get in over here, I'm going to give you some money and you're going to do this for me. You're a policy maker. You're going to make policy like I want it, because I'm going to pay you to make the policy. You understand? Voting is one thing, right? You're a minority voter. Black people are, about 35, 40 million blacks in America? 40 million, right? You're a minority. But as a lobbyist group, connected financially, you're a $1 trillion war chest. You're a $1 trillion lobbyist group that says, hey, we're all going to put $200, you do the math, 40 million times $200 into this particular situation, and this is what we want. We want this. A lobbyist group, to me, I got to teach, I will teach on what a lobby group is and why lobbyist groups are legal in America, because they're basically bribing government. They pay the government for what they want. That's what a lobbyist group does. They just bring money and say, we want this, we're going to give you money if you give us this when you get in. That's all they do. And what America has said is that a lobby group are an extension of your freedom of speech. So your money is your expression of speech. Though it's not bribery. It's freedom of speech presented in your financial support. Bandits. Okay, right? It is in truth what lobbyist is a way to simply get what you want, even though you have not voted the guy in. So you don't, who do you pay? You pay all of them. Whether you get in, or you get in, I'm gonna get what I want. I don't have to vote my guy in. I'm gonna pay all three of you, and whichever of you get in, you better do what I want. Because next time, I'm going to cut the money. Powerful. Wow. You're telling me my vote is irrelevant if I can just pay all of them? Absolutely is what I'm telling you. So activism that connects its resource of information, gathering of information, and its resources is extremely powerful, especially for a minority group. Who taught us that? Well, them old Jews taught us that. The Jews taught us this, not current day. They taught us this in the Napoleonic Wars. The Jews financed Napoleon. They understood that Napoleon had the dominant army, but that his army would only work for gold. And so what they did two things. They made sure they financed Napoleon's war efforts with gold, and they undercut the currency of the nation that he was invading to make sure that when he did take over, the monetary undercutting of that currency would put them in a position of financial power. They hedged their gold with fiat currency and hedged their power and leveraged their power in respect to Napoleon when he did take over by saying, hey, we're the ones paying you, we're the ones paying your army. And if we don't pay your army's going to turn on you. But your army ain't going to listen to us. But they sure as hell will turn on you if we don't pay. So you better do what we say. Good old Jews, the first lobbyist group, taught us how to do it. We need to learn how to do it. That is how you control a nation without an army. Oh, with the slickness, as my brother has just said. So, these are very informative things that I think you need to do also. I said it already, but I'm just going to address it again. Creating an online YouTube store. Your online store is extremely important in keeping people's attention. We live in a social media world where people simply need attention. Merch is just an attention holder. Oh, you got a hat? You got a sweater? You got a hoodie? You got shoes? Merch. Also, of course, it builds the war chest, but it keeps the momentum of your movement alive in the hands of those that can't necessarily articulate your movement. Meaning, bro, I can't say it like you, but I sure can wear your t-shirt. Bro, I can't show up at where you need me to show up, but I can wear this hoodie and I'm there. And I feel that I'm part of the movement because I've participated in keeping in buying the merch. And so an online store is extremely important in keeping you relevant. So are members. Subscribers are one thing, members are another. Members have to feel that they are getting something for their membership. And that's something I will say that I think I'll give myself a C plus. That my members should have really gotten more from me. I should have had more time, and really because I took when everything came to the head, I took another job and things were happening fast in respect to me being pulled in multiple ways. But my members really should have gotten more of my time. They should have gotten more one-on-one time with me, depending on the membership tiers that you create. Membership is important, and you have to place people in the right place, right? Because your membership is your lobbyist group that's lobbying you. They're lobbying your time, your attention, right? Because when this thing grows, comments, it's hard to respond to everybody's comment. And so you highlight and prioritize who you can respond to. And those are the individuals that, are people that are financing the movement. And hopefully they're also individuals who are giving you great information. But hopefully it's a double whammy, but it doesn't always work out that way. Doesn't always work out that way. So I talked about the brand creation. You definitely should be creating a brand with your store. Your brand should be the dominant thing in the store. Fundraising platform planning. There is no end to this. And I suggest that you don't become the only brainchild behind fundraising. One of the greatest mistakes that every preacher in the world makes, every pastor has made this, black ones especially. Your job isn't to raise money. Your job is to bring vision. Right? Unfortunately, because you have the bully pulpit and you are the personality of influence, people will listen to you when it comes to, those who follow you will listen to you when it comes to forking out money. But for somebody who's new and you are simply just a tax collector, it throws us off. And so it's a delicate balance between asking and receiving. And you can't be afraid to ask, but at the very same time, I've approached it. This is not my goal. My goal isn't the raising of funds. My goal is the sharing of information. If I share information right, the funds will come, and that has been my approach. If I share information, if I share the platform, if I allow you to win with me, funds will come. And so, if activism is only you winning, it's a dictatorship. All right, it's self promotion. Everybody must feel like you're in it together, and so fundraising must be a team event, period. And it must be something that is able to be done organically and passively, period. That's all you can do about it. You're not the IRS. Can't lock folks up for not giving you their 15%. All right, here we go. I got a little more for you, and we've got 15 minutes left. Yeah, so fundraising platform planning, I have a bunch of pieces for that I'll talk about in the actual course. Okay, this is extremely important. This is probably the most important thing. How to establish yourself in a position of authority. How to establish, I only have three things left. I have how to establish yourself in a position of authority, and two other things that are important. But let's deal with that one. I'll take 5 minutes on each. How to establish yourself as a position, as a person in a position of authority. These are things that people essentially take all kinds of courses to figure out. They try to figure out, how do I, as an individual, present myself as a position of authority? How do I do that? And you can do it actively or passively. But there are functional ways you can do it, and then there are passive ways you can do it. So the functional ways are the ways I just addressed. You control the organization, you control the bank, right? You register the organization, you register the bank, you control the speakers, you make sure the individuals are loyal to you, that defer to you. This is the Elijah Muhammad method, right? So Dylan, I'm going to put together a date very soon. Give me a couple of days, and I'm going to put together a date no further than 2 weeks away. But I'm going to have a registration page and everything. But it's going to happen in early April. It's within 2 weeks. I'm going to start it. So I'm giving people time to register, but it's going to happen. So, how to establish a position of authority? The Elijah Muhammad method. Elijah Muhammad was a secret disciple maker. Sit there and speak to somebody, and then he would pass on that information. And so that's an important aspect of Elijah Muhammad. And so what he would do is he would put himself in a position where he allowed other people to be his voice. He allowed other people to be his voice. That's a very strong position of authority. That's also the Chinese government. The other method too is when you build from a position where you have the dominant amount of information. I don't like this position specifically, but you basically are the hoarder of all the information, the critical information. When you hold critical information, people have to come to you to get information. Now, that's a power move, but it's not always the best way to govern. But when you have the key information, that means you have to be a true zealot of information, of power information, that you keep the secret information to yourself and make sure that everybody has to come back to you for this secret information. That also puts you in a position where you do control the power move. You do control the power position. Hold on one second here. So let me leave it there, because there's a lot to that. Okay, there's a lot of people that have fed into that. The 48 laws of power and becoming a great leader and all these kind of things. Those are leadership gifts. Those are leadership skill sets. Those are things you must draw from other leaders who've been successful with it, and those things come to light eventually. Some of us have it naturally, some of us don't, and that is going to be part of the course too. Okay. The next two are managing international movement. Big, very big. There is no such thing as an international voice who cannot internationally move. That means if you're stuck in one jurisdiction, you can't travel. If you don't have a passport, I always used to say, how are you an international preacher with no passport, right? How are you? I preach all over the city, but you got no bus pass or no driver's license. You have to have the capacity to move. Therefore, you have to be prepared. You have to be ready at all times to move. And if you're not ready at all times to move, you can't be the leader. You can't be the leader if you're stuck in a position where you can't be mobile. And let me tell you something, if you don't got a car, you better be able to walk, right? You better be able to say, I needs to go to Samaria. You have to be in a position to step into the lion's den of every circumstance and situation and not be afraid to move. You have to be able to move. So in order to do that now, you have to protect your ability to move. I made some key mistakes, right? So these days, you can be put on no-fly lists. You can be locked out of certain countries. America is a very protectionist country. A person like myself, as an activist who speaks to things in America, everything I say on YouTube gets analyzed. Trust me. If I say the word Trump, if I say the word government, if I say the word Jewish, algorithms go out and touch who needs to be touched. If I say the word protest, if I say the word revolt, if I say the word demonstration, if I say the word march, things go out, and guess what? Borders get shut. And so you have to be now very wise about what you say, how you say it. You can't be afraid of it. Still got to say it. And then you have to be strategic in who is able to receive you where you are going. So you can't just show up with the things I've been saying. I can't just show up in Israel. I'm talking about Netanyahu. I'm talking about the Israel being an apartheid state. I can't just go on a tour to Israel and say, hey, let's go on a speaking tour to Israel without me having key people in position to make sure I'm safe. I can't do that. That's foolish. I can't say crazy stuff about the American government and show up at the Buffalo border, the Windsor border, at Pearson Airport and say, hey, here I come. I have to do things in advance to make sure that I will have the ability to move. So these things are important. You got to be careful who you are, what you're becoming, because an activist is either a politician or a terrorist. They're somewhere in between. They're somewhere in between. And if you're speaking about democracy in China, you're a terrorist, right? You're speaking about communism in America, you're a terrorist. So you have to be very specific in how you allow yourself to be heard. And listen, if you're going to say something, make sure you're comfortable where you are, because you might not be able to move from where you are. You got to say it from safe places. You understand? You got to say it from a safe space and say, okay, I can say this now because I'm good here. This is my base. You got to make sure, because I can say some things when I'm in America that I can't say when I'm out of America. All right, I ain't gonna say it like that. I ain't gonna say much more. This is the last one, and I got 7 minutes to play with this one. Intellectual property protection. You have to understand that you never know what you're about to be in the future. You don't know who you're going to be in the future. You better rush and hurry up that you buy all the .coms and stuff that pertain to your name, because somebody else can own it very quickly. You have to make sure that you trademark certain things, expressions, things that you say. Put it on a t-shirt, baby. Make sure the things that you do are protected, because those are your thoughts. Listen, everything I've spoken, I can transcribe into a book. It's mine. I can transcribe it down. Also, you have to make sure that if you're saying everything on YouTube and YouTube decides to obliterate your account, woof, all your stuff is gone. You better have it backed up somewhere. You better have it sitting somewhere in a database, in a hard drive somewhere. Because remember, this is not your platform. They're letting you sit here to make them money. And so if you think that this is all yours, I have consented to give YouTube my brain. They own these thoughts. They can decide at any time you no longer have them. We are deleting them. We are taking them away from you. So you have to be in a position where you know all the time, hey, listen, when you shut it down, I can turn it up over here. I can turn it up over here. Have your stuff backed up everywhere. People told me very quickly, hey, make sure Rumble, make sure you got a backup on Rumble. These are important things to know because it's happened, right? We've seen it very clearly. Social media is not a right because it doesn't belong to you. And if this is your only voice, you're not making full, you're not taking full advantage of your true platform, right? Because guess what? People were known around the world who never, before there was the internet, right? They said Jesus never walked more than 40 kilometers from where he was born, and he affected the world. You know, he never went more than 40 kilometers from where he was born. Never. And he affected the whole world forever. So there's a way to reach people without this, but you better make sure that when you plant your seeds, when you cast your bread upon the water, it will return to you in many days. And if you've cast your bread around among the waters of social media, and you're saying strong things, they will turn you off, baby. They will turn you off. So transcribe videos. Once you speak, transcribe them. Make sure you set up softwares to transcribe the videos and turn those videos into booklets, into paper, hard copy, so that now you can say, okay, this is my words, this is what I've said, I said it here, right? Don't underestimate the power of books. Right? Yeah, a lot of suppressed voices out here. A lot of people who've been silenced and quieted down. Right? So you have to make sure you plan for that. When you try to quiet me, 10,000 like me will rise up and start speaking. You don't want to quiet me. That's the kind of thing that you need to be building. That's why you can't keep all the information for yourself, in my opinion. That's why you got to share information. That's why you have to have disciples. Right? You have to have apostles. You have to have people like that who have ability to carry on the movement. So that's it. This is what I'm trying to put together in what we're calling the Black Empowerment Academy. Black empowerment begins first and foremost with identity. You can't empower me unless I know who I am. I got to know who I am. And before you give me purpose, you have to empower me to want my purpose. You know, because you might tell a man, listen, you're an African. I know you're an African. You're from Senegal. I see it in you. I see the Senegalese markings on you. I know where you're from. They say, okay, that's great, but I'm out here hustling, baby. I don't have time to worry about Senegal. They ain't worried about me in Senegal, bro. I gotta earn my money here. I gotta figure out my life. That person needs to be empowered. That person needs to be told, my brother, you're out here trying to earn your life. But let me tell you something, that there's such a call on your life. If you left that job tomorrow, if you stop doing what you're doing right now, the call on your life will position you in a place that you could never imagine, because you are greater than that job. There's something in you, my people who are called by my name. There's something in you that you are bigger than the terminologies that are put upon you. You are not an African American. You're not black. You're not a negro, nigga, with an H or an A or whatever, strong R. There's something in you that you are more royal than what you've been called. You are more astute than what you think you do not know. There's something in us that is greater than even the United States of America. And it's been said many times by those greater than me, it's taken a nation of millions to hold my people back. And they still can't hold you back. If I can empower you, I can lead you. And nobody is moving outside of inspiration. Desperation, but inspiration is needed. Desperation will move you, but inspiration will cause you to leave what you're desperate for and search for your purpose. So my hope to you today is that I've encouraged you, that the Black Empowerment Academy is the very beginning. We're going to have in a couple of weeks our first master class. It will be 3 hours long. The registration that I need you to do is I need you to go on my YouTube page in the beacons. Register there in the beacons. Give me all your information. Say I'm interested in the Black Empowerment Academy masterclass. We'll send out that information to those who are interested. I'm only going to do this if people are really interested in it. It's something that I felt inspired to do, and I'm trying to do one every 6 weeks. So this one will last for 6 weeks. We will build your YouTube page. We will register your LLCs. We will help you with your marketing. We will do ads. We will put it together for you so you will have a robust platform, and we will do it across platforms and make sure that you are able to be the activist that you are. Your activism might be that I'm trying to sell cosmetics. I'm trying to empower Black women with natural beauty. I'm trying to teach people how to wear their natural hair. Whatever it is, you might be saying, "Listen, I'm a pastor, and I want to share the word of God in a way that's more effective. I feel like that's my calling." Whatever it is, it must be for all of us, and we will help you do it. Bless you. God bless you, my people. Hear my voice and run with this vision because it's yours. Love you, and I'll talk to you all very, very soon.